All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our very special event with Venerable Kovida for shining light into the darkness of the mind, covering topics of Kilesa and Nirvana. And so thank you everyone for joining from all across the world, Purdue students and people abroad and people from all around the world. And thank you all for joining tonight. Okay, there we go. So just since we have people coming and joining us from everywhere, just an introduction to who we are as a Buddhist society. So we're the Purdue Buddhist Society. If you don't know where Purdue is a college campus. It's a public university in Indiana in the United States. And this club was created in the 1980s by Taiwanese Buddhists. And this organization was created to provide a community for those interested in Buddhism and for Buddhists to come together, and to provide a space for Purdue students to cultivate peace and kindness through meditation and the Buddhist teachings. And so for our organization, I think both of our advisors are joining us today. So Professor Sang Long Lin and Professor Ching Ching Wu are joining us tonight, and these are our advisors for the club. And then in terms of the student-led leaders, the president is me. I'm Sawyer Powell. I'm a senior at Purdue. And then our vice president is Emily Aker. And then our treasurer is Xiao Yu. And so if you're just learning about our organization, if you're interested, you can go to purdue.edu/Buddhism to learn more about our organization and to catch up on events and to join our Discord community. And we have events happening every night, and it's open to both Purdue students and people not affiliated with Purdue. So everyone's welcome to join. And so before we begin, this is a brief introduction on Venerable Sayadaw Kovida. So Venerable Kovida is a meditation teacher at the Pa'ok Forest Monastery, Malamin, Myanmar. He's teaching mostly foreign meditators. And so Bhante has 19 vasas, and he ordained as a novice at the age of 14, and then took higher ordination in 1996 at Mahavisuddharama Monastery in Salin Township. Bhante studied Buddhist scriptures at Mahavisuddharama Monastery from 1990 to 1999, and at Masoyin Monastery, a renowned Buddhist monastery in Mandalay, from 2000 to 2003. He passed the Dhammacharya teachership examination and was awarded the title Sasanadaja Dhammacharya. And afterwards, he taught Buddhist scriptures at Masoyin Monastery. In 2006, Bhante Kovida went to the Pa'ok Forest Monastery to practice meditation under the guidance of the most venerable Pa'ok Soyeda and other Soyedas such as Soyeda Kanchara, Soyeda Yuravrata, and in 2008, he has been appointed to teach meditation at the monastery. And so Bhante Kovida has extensive experience in teaching the Dhamma overseas. He conducted meditation retreats in Korea, in Latvia, in Malaysia, and he's given Dhamma talks in Singapore, Malaysia, China, Indonesia, Taiwan, and Thailand, and as of recently, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, USA, and Canada, and India. And so before we begin, just kindly asking everyone just for some etiquette. And so we ask everyone to please keep your microphones muted and your video off, just to minimize distractions. And also during the teaching, if you could refrain from sending any chats through Zoom, and that would be very helpful. But at any point, if you have any questions that you want to ask, then feel free to send an email to buddhism@purdue.edu. I'll be keeping track of questions. And so if you think of something and you want to send an email and you want to ask it, feel free to send us an email at buddhism@purdue.edu. And then after the teaching, which will be 1 hour, we'll have a 30-minute Q&A session. And so during that time, feel free to send any chats you want to, any questions during that period. So thank you everyone for your cooperation. And I'd like to formally request Venerable Kovida to give us a Dhamma talk. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Before we start giving Dhamma talks, we will pay homage to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. When we study Buddha's teaching, in many places, in many Nikaya, many collections, the Buddha explained the same things to eradicate the defilements. Now, in the Kilesa Samyutta, the Buddha said, monks, whatever interest and greed for eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, is minor defilements of eye, ears, and so on. So it depends on our mind. When we see something unwisely, if we like it, greed will arise. If we dislike, anger or hatred may arise. If we wisely see desirable things, although it is a very desirable object, our mind will not attach to it. Similarly, although we see undesirable things, we will not get angry. This is the way we have to train ourselves. The Buddha explained in many discourses about overcoming defilements, especially it depends on 6 doors: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So these are 6 doors. Many different objects will enter into our mind, enter into our thought process. Then it will disturb our minds. That is why we have to train ourselves. Then the Buddha also said in the Samyutta Nikaya, Kilesa Samyutta, monks, when the minor defilements in these 6 instances are dispelled from the monk's mind, it turns to renounce and well developed in renunciation, since work over for the realizations of higher knowledge. So we have to understand that defilements are obstacle to improve. In modern community, it's a requirement. Mostly Western now may know the one like the soft skill, interpersonal skill, self-awareness. All these things come from our minds. If our mind become very calm and quiet, flexible, then we can have all these skills. When our mind is messy with many defilements, or when our mind is influenced by the defilements, we cannot improve easily. Then if we say briefly how to do it, how to overcome the defilements, the Buddha also give general instructions. If we say generally, just trying to develop the Eightfold Path. So, in the general instructions in the Samyutta Nikaya, from many different suttas, I collect all the informations. Then the Buddha said, here monks, the monk develops right view to drive out greed, hate, and delusion to the end, relying on seclusion, fading, cessation to keep up with maturity. So that means we have to develop right view. Not only that, we also have to develop all other 8 noble paths, as all the Buddhists have known that as all the Buddhists have known that we have Noble Eightfold Path. So when we can develop Noble Eightfold Path, we can eradicate defilements. We can subside the defilements. Not only that, the Buddha also said, here monks, the man develops right view, diving in deathless, and to end in the deathless. So that means if we want to attain Nibbana, the deathless, we must develop the Noble Eightfold Path. So again, the Buddha also say the next one, the monks developing and making much the Noble Eightfold Path should do so, establish in virtues and relying on the virtues. So this is the first part we have to know. When we are going to develop the Noble Eightfold Path, we can divide into three groups. The first one is morality training. The second part is concentration. The third part is wisdom training. So if we are going to train these three trainings, in the very beginning, we have to develop the morality, the virtues. So we must establish ourselves in the virtues, that we can improve ourselves. Then the Buddha also says, the monk established and relying on virtues, develops and makes much the Noble Eightfold Path, grows and comes to greatness in the teaching. That is the Buddha's teaching, mentioned in Samyutta Nikaya. Then the Buddha also said the next one, the monks develops and make much the Noble Eightfold Path, bending, sloping, and inclining to extinction. So these are also the Buddha's teaching. Our mind must incline to develop the Noble Eightfold Path. Sometimes we don't wish to develop. Sometimes, although we are willing to develop, but we are not willing to practice. Sometimes we wish to develop, but we hesitate to practice. That is not the way the Buddha recommended. If we wish, we must try to practice. Then again, the next part, the Buddha mentioned, the monks developing and making much the Noble Eightfold Path, rejects, demerits, does not accept them. That is another one, right? So if we are going to develop the Noble Eightfold Path, we have already rejected demerits, unwholesome deeds or unwholesome actions. That is also important for us. Sometimes we didn't know, sometimes we don't know. We have many defilements. We accept it, we enjoy it. Gradually, it will be very harmful for our future or our improvement. It becomes very big disturbance for our practice. That's when the Buddha recommended to reject the demerits. Then the Buddha also said, it's possible for the monk developing the path with a view correctly directed to cut ignorance, arouse knowledge, and realize extinction. So that means if we can develop the Eightfold Paths, we can also cut the ignorance. In the very beginning of practice, it's not that easy to cut. Gradually, when we become very skillful and when our knowledge becomes very mature, we can cut all the ignorance, or we can eradicate all the ignorance by the power of Arhat path knowledge. But the next one, the monks developing and making much the Noble Eightfold Path, the 4 establishment of mindfulness, the 4 endeavors, the 4 psychic powers, the 5 mental faculties, the 5 powers, and 7 enlightenment fetters by the development get completed. So that means if we can practice the Noble Eightfold Paths, we can complete many of Buddha's teaching. All the Buddha teachings is covered by Noble Eightfold Paths, which means Noble Eightfold Paths can include all the Buddha's teaching. If we divide into groups, in the very beginning of this talk, I have said there can be only 3: morality, concentration, and wisdom. Then the next one, the monks developing and making much the Noble Eightfold Path knows those things that should be thoroughly known. In Pali, we call Parijanati. Through special knowledge, Vinyaya, dispel those things that should be dispelled, Pahatapa. Through the special knowledge, realize Sachikaroti, those things that should be realized through special knowledge, and develops those things that should be developed through special knowledge. So here I just add the Pali words to highlight. When we talk about Parijanati or Abhinyaya or Pahatapa, although we have different Pali words, they are with the same things we have to know. It with special knowledge. Then there should be something we have to dispel by the power of that knowledge. For example, we must know 5 aggregates, 12 bases, 18 elements, and so forth. All these are the object of vipassana, the object of insight knowledges. That if we can know thoroughly and clearly, gradually we can subside the defilements. If insight knowledge becomes very mature, we can uproot the defilements. Then again, it will be the last part of this sutta. Here monks, the monk develops right view relying on seclusion, non-excitement for seasons, and to give up in the end with maturity. Similarly, the Buddha also explained remaining noble path. Then the Buddha also said the monks developed right concentration, relying on seclusion. In Pali here we call vivekanisita, no excitement, viraganisita, for seasons, nirodhanisita, and to give up in the end with maturity. Hausega, Brinami. So in the seclusions, we can develop easily. If we are in the community where there is a lot of noise, we cannot develop easily. Similarly, if we have a lot of excitement, a lot of attachment, a lot of defilements, we cannot develop easily. See, our development must be for the cessations of attachments, hindrances, defilements. Then if we can develop like this, then Buddha also said, monks, in this manner, the monk develops and makes much of Noble Eightfold Paths as a virtuous companion. So that means if we are good friends or good companions, we can develop the Noble Eightfold Path easily. So what is really called noble friends or good companions or virtuous companions? There are many different requirements for this kind of explanations. For example, when we are going to practice anapanasati our friends must be expert or clever at mindfulness of breathing. If we are going to observe the precepts, our Dhamma friends must be clever and expert at practicing morality, taking precepts. It depends on the situation. We should have a different companion, different friends. So again, the Buddha also said, another one in Pali, Sila Sampada, the endowment of virtues. So if we ourselves is virtuous, we can develop easily. Sometimes we don't like many rules and regulations. Sometimes we don't want to listen to the discourses, especially when it explains about morality. So we must have willingness to listen to the virtuous things, especially rules and regulations. According to modern society, we must study the law. Then another one is Chanda Sampada, the endowment of desire to do good things. So here we have many different types of desire, many different types of chanda. Mostly, our mind is really, really very easy to follow bad things. We desire to do many bad things easily. So now we must have good desire to do good things. If we have good desire or willingness to do good things, then we can develop the Noble Eightfold Path. Then again, Atta Sampada, accomplishment of oneself, good mind or willingness. Atta Sampada, this one is very, very common. So we can also say like a self-control or self-trained or self-disciplined. Then we must have willingness to develop ourselves. When we talk about morality, we also have to know one of the morality mentioned in the suttas. That is Achara Sila. So Achara Sila means it depends on our society, religion, or maybe nationality, or the place we live. There are going to be different culture. As long as the culture is good for our environment, not harmful for other people or our environment, we should follow that kind of rule and regulation. That's called Achara Sila. Whether it can be, whether we are Buddhists or non-Buddhists, if we follow good culture, good traditions, then we are a good person. We must have desire to follow it. We must have willingness to follow good culture. This is also called a kind of sila. And when we have this kind of sila, it's easier for us to develop the Noble Eightfold Path. Ditti Sampada. The accomplishment of view. Here we should talk about right view. Whenever the Buddha talk about the right view, he mentioned Four Noble Truths. When we can understand the Four Noble Truths, we have right view. Then the next one, Abhamada Sampada. The accomplishment of vigilance. Sometimes Abhamada is also translated as mindfulness or intelligence. Okay, here I should introduce the meaning of Abhamada according to Vibhanga. There are many other explanations of Abhamada. Here I will choose only a few of them. The first one is continuous walking or continuous practicing. Sometimes we just practice short time. We are not practicing continuously. If we can practice continuously, we can develop faster. That is also necessary. Continuous practice is also called appamada. Another one is respectfully practicing. If we practice respectfully, this is also called appamada. So, continuous practice, respectfully practice. Then we have to accept it as our responsibility. But one more thing here. Sometimes we accept our practice as responsibility. Then we also have a lot of depression. That's not nice. Although we take responsibility, but no depression, no pressure when we are practicing. We have to feel free because we are training our mind. Then the last one is, okay, now here, next one is Yoniso Manasikara Sambara. The accomplishment of wise intention. As many of Buddhists has known, wise intention is the cause of all the wholesome actions or wholesome deeds. When we have wise intention, we may have more wholesome minds, more wholesome deeds. If we don't have Yoniso Manasikara, we may have more unwholesome mind. So this is also important. According to modern society, we should talk about like a perspective, maybe, different perspective. So then we should say, we may have different point of view, different opinion, different acceptance, then we may have different types of defilements. Although it's an undesirable object, we see if our mind is wise, we can get profit from it. For example, at the time of the Buddha, there's one bhikkhu and some leader finding firewood in the forest. They found a corpse. The Samnira practiced asava meditation there. He could attain up to anagami path and fruition knowledge. Mostly corpse, the dead body is undesirable. Nobody wishes to see. In Buddhist community, it's common. We have to see the dead body, the corpse. We have to try to feed it. We have to try to feed repulsives. Then we can practice asava meditation, repulsiveness meditation. Then we can improve our minds. We can attain jhana, concentration. So it depends on how we accept. It's called wise intention. Then we have to continue the next one about hindrances. Today, actually, I have to explain only the first part. Maybe tomorrow I have to continue, right? That's why I have to say only the first part of this paper. So Satipatthana. Okay, Satipatthana. So Satipatthana, everybody knows Satipatthana, the foundations of mindfulness. We have 4 foundations of mindfulness. The first part is body contemplation. The second part, feeling contemplation, the mind contemplation, and Dhamma contemplation. Among these 4, the last part is the Dhamma contemplation. They are mentioned many different chapters. Among many chapters, I will just pinpoint one part, Nivarana Bhava, the chapter of hindrances. So first I have to explain, so why is it called hindrance? It will hinder our attainment. That is why they are called hindrance. It will block our improvement. That is why it's called hindrance. It's also called obstacle. Anyway, in Buddha's teaching, there will be different definitions of hindrances. There can be different number of the factors. In the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, it mentioned 5 hindrances. Sometimes the Buddha also mentioned 7 hindrances. So sometimes 6. If we say 6, it will be One of them is now here I will explain in this small manuscript. I just mention only 7. The additional hindrance will be ignorance or delusion. So from time to time, the Buddha gives different instructions to different people according to their temperament. Here in Masatipatthana Sutta. The Dhamma listeners are from Kamasa Dhamma. They are very wise, very intelligent, very healthy, both mentally and bodily. That is why they can accept very deep and profound Dhamma discourses. Then the Buddha explained to the people of Kamasa Dhamma. That's the case where there are beings, sensual desire present with them. It may understand that there is sensual desire present within me, or there being no sensual desire present within. He discerns that there's no sensual desire present within me. This is the first part. If we say briefly, if there's a sensual desire arising in our mental process or thought process, we must know it. If there's no sensual desire in our thought process, we must know it. Then, although it's very easy to explain, but not that easy to overcome that sensual desire. Not only that, the Buddha also continues talking about an arisen sensual desire. He discerns how there is the arising of an arisen sensual desire. So that means the meditator must discern how there is the arising of an arisen sensual desire. There are many arising sensual desire in our life. Now, how they arise, we must know it. If we know it, we can overcome it. Mostly, many of people ask, when we talk about something, how, why, we have many questions. Here, the Buddha also explained how to overcome the sensual desire. Then again, and he discerns how there is the abandoning of sensual desire once it has arisen. So that means we must know how to abandon the sensual desire that has already arisen before. Then, and he discerns how there's no further appearance in the future of sensual desire that has been abandoned. After abandoning, we must know how we can uproot. That means, although we abandon for some times, they can arise again anytime if we cannot uproot. So we have to know how to uproot totally. Then the Buddha explained many different ways to approach the other hindrances. Here I just mentioned only one of the hindrances, but Buddha repeated 7 hindrances the same. Then there I have to use some Pali words, sandam. Mostly when we talk about sandam, it just mentioned arising or present. Asandami, unpresent, or maybe absent. So here, sandami, frequently practice or habits. This is called sandam. For example, if we have habits of enjoying sensual pleasure, our mind will incline to it most of the time. Then, if our mind incline to the Dhamma most of the time, if our mind frequently, if we practice meditation, if we meditate frequently, our mind will incline to meditation objects. It comes from habit. So now here, in the sense of hindrances, if our mind frequently go to sensual pleasure, ill will, sloth and torpor, remorse and restlessness, or skepticism, our mind will keep going into it frequently because of habit. If we can overcome it, if we direct our mind to another directions, it will go to another directions. We can overcome the defilements. The ascendant, there was a not frequenting or no habits or being eradicated. So if our mind does not frequent defilements, we don't have habit of enjoying sensual pleasure and so forth, or if sensual desire is already eradicated by the power of anagami path and fruition knowledge, this is called ascendant, absence. Then here the Buddha also mentioned there are two causes of the arisings of sensual desire, desirable signs or objects. Here in Pali I use Subha Nimitta or Subha Ramana. Subha means desirable or beautiful or nice or good looking, all these things can be considered as Subha. So Nimitta means sign, Aramana means object. So desirable object or desirable signs. That means it's a beautiful or nice object. And our wise intention. Sometimes, although we see or we hear, smell or taste or touch desirable signs or desirable objects, when we have a wise intention, that means when we are practicing Dhamma most of the time, we may not have attachment to it. So here, our wise intention is also one of the key players whenever unwholesome mind arises. Here, unwise intention means perverted perceptions such as impermanence as permanent, suffering as happiness, non-self as repulsiveness, non-self, repulsiveness as beauty or nice. All these things are called Subha. Ayoniso unwise intention. Then again, we have to know that when we are practicing vipassana, we must know anicca, dukkha, anatta, asubha. But when we are practicing samatha or in our daily conversation, this is not very common. For example, when we are going to talk about metta meditation, it's not anicca, dukkha, anatta. We cannot do it. When we are going to talk about dana or sila, morality or charity, we cannot talk about anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's not the way we must speak it. Okay, now again, we have to talk about Subha Nimitta again. The sensual desire itself is also called Subha Nimitta. Brazilian sensual desire can support succeeding one. So that means Brazilian sensual desire will reinforce succeeding one to be stronger. Then this is called Subha Nimitta. Then two, the desirable object or sign is also Subha Nimitta. So the first one is desire. When we have, if we think about something only 1 day or 1 minute, it doesn't matter. If we think about one thing very long time, it becomes powerful. The meditation theories are like that. If we release our mind to go wherever it like, we don't have mind power. We just try our minds to know one single object all the time. Then we can use our mind power fully. Then it becomes very powerful mind. We can know many, many things. We can experience many different things better than normal experiences. Then the Buddha also explained the ways to overcome sensual desire. Today, I think this will be the last part of Dhamma talk. 1. Subanimetasa Ukaho, learning 10 types of repulsiveness meditation. Okay, here, I mentioned 10 types of meditation. We can find 9th channel ground chapter in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. You can go and read 9, right? Then if you wish to know more than that, you can go and read in Visuddhimagga. There will be 10 types of Asubha meditation. Now in our traditional training in Myanmar, we also have Vedamata Sangha. In that small booklet also, it mentioned 10 types of Asubha, repulsiveness meditation. Not only that, when we are going to talk about Asubha meditation, we also can practice 32 body parts in our body. So you can also find the 32 body parts in Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Most of the people have known Mahasatipatthana Sutta because it's very common in every tradition. Many of meditation teachers will talk about Mahasatipatthana Sutta. Maybe not complete version, they will pick up some part of Satipatthana Sutta, display like that. Not full version of Satipatthana Sutta. Okay, anyway, now when we are going to talk about learning repulsiveness meditation, we can also learn 32 body parts. For example, okay, the first 5 parts: head hair, body hair, teeth, nails, and skins. You must try to know it, try to see it, try to feel it. You must try to feel it, repulsive. Then again, when we are going to study all these things, there is also a special way of training. In the commentary of Mahasatipatthana Sutta, it also mentioned the story of a parrot. So the parrot was also practicing 32 body parts taught by Bhikkhuni. As an animal, it cannot understand repulsives. Maybe sometimes it may feel repulsives. It's not sure. But here we have systematic learning of 32 body parts. The first steps, we must recite verbally. Kesa, loma, naka, danda, decho. Head hair, body hair, teeth, nails, skin. And we can also recite remaining body parts. Then second steps, we must recite mentally. Mental recitation is also important. If we can feel repulsives after recitation, mentally, is also good enough to eradicate the attachment to our body. Then the Buddha also explains Vanato, the color of the body parts. For example, head hair, mostly we Asian people have black hair, black color. Some Westerners may have different color. Then Santana draw the shape of the body parts. Then we can also practice Disato. Disato means the place. The place means from the navel upwards up to head hair, then downwards up to toenails. We have to practice. We have to see all these body parts and their locations up or down. The Okasa is also location. That means, okay, we must know in which part of the body there is this body part. For example, head hair will be in the head. Body hair can be all over the body. Teeth will be inside the mouth, and so forth. The bodhicitta door, that is a little bit easier to practice. That means head hair is not body hair. Body hair is not head hair. Teeth is not head hair, something like that. We have to divide into pieces. So sometimes if we love somebody or if we hate somebody, we can practice 32 body parts. If we can see 32 body parts, we can release from love and hate. For example, if we love somebody, ask, which one do you love? Head hair, body hair, teeth, nails, ask part by part. Finally, love will disappear. Again, when we hate somebody, we have to ask the same things. Which one do you hate? Do you hate head hair, body hair, teeth, nails, part by part? Finally, hate will disappear. This is the way we have to train ourselves to overcome from sensual desire and hatred or many other defilements. So sometimes we have attachment to ourselves. At the time, we must free ourselves as repulsives. That when we have attachment to other living beings, we must try to see it as repulsives. Then we may feel free and more comfortable mind. Then 2, Asubha Bhavana Nuyoko. Practicing repulsiveness meditation up to ascetics or absorption concentration. So if we practice Asubha meditation, whether it's 10 types of Asubha or 32 body parts, we can attain up to the first jhana. So different meditation subjects have different nimitta, different improvement. In the case of 32 body parts, we must know and see 32 body parts clearly. It's the nimitta. We can see the brightness, we can see the light all over the body or some part of the body. Finally, it becomes very bright. Then it will change to Parivaka Nimitta. We can also know the body parts clearly. We can also feel repulsiveness clearly. This is the first part about 32 body parts. We are going to practice 10 types of Asubha. According to Mahasatipatthana Sutta, 9 types of Asubha. 9 types of 10th body, we can say like that. Then when we talk about 9 types of Asubha, then there is also different death body. In the very beginning of death moment, after death, then it's not that much repulsive, just like sleeping. But gradually, after 2 days, 3 days, then the body will spoil gradually. Then there will be some ocean, bags, blood, and so forth. When we can see all these things and we can take as objects, actually there are many things to explain about learning Asubha meditation. It's very messy because we have to learn how to go and how to see everything in detail. It will be too messy. Another thing is, as far as I know, most of the Westerners have never practiced this kind of things. Also, they dislike that kind of practice. That's why I'm not on the side on this one. Okay, the main thing is if we can practice 30 body parts or 10 types of repulsiveness meditation, we can take ascetics concentrations or the first jhana. the absorption concentration. Then 3, Indri Yesu Gauta Dwarata, restraint and the controlling faculty of sense. We must train our sense doors. Sometimes we have attachment to see something, but we follow our mind or we follow our eyes. Then we're trying to see it. It becomes an obstacle. So the Buddha recommended his disciple to control the faculty of sense. Sometimes we also use to guardian the senses. Anyway, the main thing is eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Although we have good eyesight, if we see something, then we have a wholesome mind. Instead of accepting unwholesome deeds, unwholesome thought in the process, we should train our mind to reject it. Sometimes we are going to reject, it consumes twice our mind power. But when we become very, very powerful, we can reject easily. So similarly, although we have good ears, good nose, good tongue, good body, sensation, sensitivity, or we have good heart. Sometimes we may have unwholesome minds when seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking. We should train ourselves more. From time to time, many of meditators ask me, Bhante, I have a memory of my past. It's very terrible. Whenever they have this kind of reports, I just remind them, why do you bring your past here in your meditation sitting? Let bygone be bygone. The Buddha didn't recommend his disciple to recollect your anger in the past, your hatred in the past. Sometimes I also use the Pali words. We don't have Lobha no sati or Dosa no sati, right? No sati is a recollection. We just have only Buddha no sati, Dhamma no sati, Sangha no sati, Java no sati, and so forth. That is why, if something is very, very bad or very harmful for us, don't recall it. If something is happened to us also, trying to avoid this one, doing something. We have many solutions to overcome it. The main thing is to train our sense doors. Don't allow bad things to our eyes. Don't allow many bad things to our ears. Don't allow many bad things to our nose. Don't allow many bad things to our tongue and body and mind. So this is called controlling sense doors or sense faculties. Bhojane Mata Nyuta, moderating in food. Of course, we have to cost a lot of money for this time. Every day we eat, we cook, we prepare as we wish to eat. So for this time, we have to cost a lot of money. And the Buddha recommended his disciple not to follow the demand of the mind and tongue. So, what's really called Bhojane Mata Nyuta? As an ordinary person, we have to moderate in food when we are going to accept the food. When accepting, we must accept only the amount we can eat, we can consume. When we are going to take meal in the dining hall, we have to take only suitable food for us. Although we accept many things, although do not offer many things, if the food is not suitable for our health or our practice, we must not eat. That's called Botany Metanyuta. Then 5. Kalyana Mitata. Having good friends who can teach or practice the repositiveness meditation. This is called Kalyana Mita. Because here we are going to eradicate or going to uproot sensual desire. That is why we must know how to meditate or how to practice repositiveness meditation. So there, I have already said, there are many, many steps to learn how to practice the repositiveness meditation. As I have said, 32 body parts in the number 1. Even in the 32 body parts, we have many different steps to study, to learn. After that, we must practice. Okay, here for your information, I have introduced 3 types of meditation in Buddha's teaching. Briefly, there are only 3 types of meditation. The first one is seeing. Unseen, we can practice. For example, Kasina. Asubha, dead body, the corpse. Unseen, we can practice. Another one is listening or learning. Learning means, in the case of 32 body parts, if we have learned anatomy, we know where is the body parts. Because of free repulsives, because of overcome attachment. That is why by learning or by listening, we can also practice, such as 32 body parts. Then the last one is puta in Pali, we call touching. When we are going to practice mindfulness of breathing, breathing comes from touching sensation. In breath, out breath, and touching points. There are 3 things. Do we know when we are practicing mindfulness of breathing? So briefly, when we are going to practice mindfulness of breathing, we can also know through the touching, through the sensation. We can keep knowing the breathing. But one more thing here, if we emphasize, focus on sensation too much, you may also feel tension or stiffness around your nose. So we must be very careful. Again, briefly, now Kalyana Mitata means good friends. You may know one of the bhikkhu. He has special power. You can know many people's destination, their future lives. When he met the Buddha, then when he saw the scar of somebody, you can know where's his future destination. But the Buddha showed him the scar of an arhat. You cannot find the future. That he was ordained as a bhikkhu. One day, he was in the city. When going for alms foods, he saw many designer objects. Lustful minds influenced him too much. He requested some instruction from Venerable Ananda. Then Venerable Ananda explained him how to overcome it. So that means when we have lustful minds, we must have good friends who can solve this problem. When we have hatred, we must have good friends to overcome hatred, to solve this problem. How to subside hatred, how to overcome hatred, he must be able to guide it. That is called Kalyana Mita, good friends. Finally, number 6, Sapaya Kata. Having suitable conversation with friends about repositiveness meditation. So I will talk about repositiveness meditation. especially here when we are going to talk about lustful minds. The opposite object or lustful object, desirable object is asubha, repulsiveness. When we have desirable objects, when we have attachments, then when we see something repulsive, we may not have attachment to it. So we have to change our perceptions to understand as a perception, as a repulsive, and we can overcome it. So briefly, there are 6 things to overcome sensual desire: asubha nimitta alcohol, learning, 10 types of repulsiveness meditation, asubha bhavana nuyoga, practicing repulsiveness meditation up to assess or absorption concentration. Indriya sukhuta dwarata, restraint in the sense, controlling sense doors, controlling faculty of sense, bhajani matanyukta, moderating in food, klena mitata, having equal friends who can teach or practice the repulsiveness meditation. Then 6, the sabhayakata, having suitable conversation with friends about repulsiveness meditation. These are the way to overcome sensual desire. I will continue remaining defilements, and I will explain how to overcome it tomorrow. So may you all be able to practice the Buddha's teaching, and may you all be able to realize everlasting peace and no suffering, nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, Bhante, for such a wonderful talk. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send a message in the chat. But actually, I received an email from someone who wanted to ask a question maybe a few days ago. So I'll go ahead and start with this question, if that's okay with you, Bhante.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is from Damika Lee. And this person says, my life has no direction. Sometimes I felt lost and puzzled where to go. When I was working, I didn't want to be like my colleagues, changing luxury car and luxury clothes. Then I changed my job. I happened to know the word Theravada Buddhism on the internet over 10 years ago. The curiosity leads my life. I quit my job and went to learn meditation to verify if I really have past lives and if the fantastic book of the Abhidhamma is true. Later in ITBMU in Yangon, the Myanmar teacher told us in the classroom proudly that she translated for the minister of Myanmar. At that time, I was confused. I could be the translator of the minister of China nearly 20 years ago, but I gave up. Then I began to search in Christianity, but I couldn't believe. Then I began to search in Buddhism over 10 years. The highest proud in ITBMU is translator of minister. So why did I search abroad? Should I go back? But I cannot go back. Now I'm in a Mahayana monastery, still no direction.
Mm-hmm. So the main question is, the main question is?
I'm not sure that this person specified an actual question, but I believe that this person has lost a lot of faith in the Dhamma and is looking for some encouragement.
Okay, I see. Okay, so the main thing is when we get lost faith, is the time to do recollection of Dhamma. For example, like you may read many books, right? It's not come from original. Trying to approach Pali Canon. For example, like Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya. There are many useful scriptures you can practice in your daily life. So there are many theories. Some theories are not practical. Although for advanced meditator, it will be practical. But for beginner, it's not practical. Don't follow many theory. Just trying to find many scriptures, many ingredients that can apply in your daily life. It will be more useful for your confidence. Later, when you know the benefits of practice, you will have more faith. So the faith or the confidence come from practice is more beneficial instead of reading many books. Okay, mostly I recommend to read original text. If you can study Pali, it will be much better for you. Read like Buddhist Samhita, very deep, very profound. You know, okay. Any other name?
And I think that's it. Thank you. In terms of emails that I've received. So thank you, Bhante. Does anyone else have anything that they want to send into the chat? Any questions that they might have?
Okay. Sawyer, since I have the co-host privilege, can I just ask question directly instead of sending?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry to break the rule. But you know how hard it is for me to type while listening to this. So please forgive me. Bhante, I think that the original goal for this inviting Bhante to talk is to try to show the students some insight of how ways, methods, or dharma that so they can handle their daily defilement obstacles. And I think you did a real direct and clear message for telling us about the six senses and how they leads to defilement, and how this last big slide is telling us ways to get us out of these five senses and trapped into the defilement. And I think one of the important key is to know what is good and bad, and also to establish good habit. Is that correct to say that during this process? Yeah. Okay. So can you help the student to understand the good and bad definition according to Dharma? Because sometimes we feel good, on things, but we did not know that is really truly not good for us. And so I think the students being young, I think sometimes we're drawn to things that is actually not good for us. Or and I think so. I think because we're all based on what we've been brought up, the principles, the definition of good and bad, and the good and bad of the world sometimes is not the same, or not exactly the same as what Buddha's good and bad. So can you maybe explain to the student a little bit on that? Okay.
So I have to use the Pali words first, right? So when we are going to talk about good and bad, I have used Pali words. Good means in Pali kusala. Kusala also say skillful, or wholesome, or good, or merit. Then we also can understand the definitions of kusala. In Pali, we have kusala, anavaja, sukha vipaka, lakkhana. Yeah, anavaja means blameless. So that means after doing something, if we have to regret, that's very bad. That is akusala. This is savaja. We blame ourselves. We complain ourselves. Second one is if many people complain our actions, this is also bad. This is called savaja, right? Another one is sukha vipaka, happy result or good result. Sometimes it's good result for us, but good result for other people, other living beings. So this is not really good things. If we say good, it must be good for both parties, good for anybody's. So when we talk about ultimate truth or everlasting truth, it must be correct everywhere in whatever situation. This is called good. So for example, greed. Yes, if we are going to earn, greed is good, right? We are going to earn money. When we have greed, we can earn money. This is good. But sometimes greed becomes depression. Greed also produces depressions. It becomes bad. So that means greed, if we can, that's example, right? Greed. So similarly, hatred. This is very clear. Hatred have never been good to anybody. Even small amount of hatred is not really very good, right? Greed, some greed are acceptable. Hatred not acceptable. Just totally negative. Okay, one more thing. So when we talk about savaja, that means it's also blamable, or it's also harmful for ourselves, harmful for our environment or other people. This is called akusala. It is good for our us, good for other people. This is the good. Another thing is long-time good and short-time good. There are some of the things that will be very good for a short time. For example, like a picnic game, for example, right? Since I was already very young, I have never experienced many things about picnic game. Anyway, I have many friends. You know, when I was a teenage boy, many friends. They go for a picnic game, they drank, sing a song, dance. Next day, they become exhausted, you know. They cannot speak properly because they have sore throats, you know. A lot of shouting, dancing, they become very tired. So that means short-time happiness, but long-time suffering. They have to suffer. One day happiness, they have to suffer for 2 or 3 days. After that, they can recover, right? So that means, so although we say good things, we have to know is it short time or long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just spend our time for short time comforts, but it's for a long time suffering. So, okay. Actually, Buddha also mentioned many different types of happiness. For example, some happiness produce happiness. Some happiness produce unhappiness or suffering, right? Then again, there are some suffering that also produce happiness. In the very beginning, we will suffer. Later, it will bring happiness. For example, when you are exercising, right?
Yeah.
Fitness, you will be very tired, exhausted. But for a long time, it is good for you. Short time suffering, for a long time happiness. Similarly, there are some cases, it's always suffering, like a dosa. If you get angry one time, you may get angry, you may fight with somebody, you have to suffer very long time. Go to the court or you have to contact with this person, that person. That if something very terrible, you have done something very terrible, you must go to the jail, you know? Then it becomes very terrible. So that means if we talk about good and bad, according to Buddha's teaching, we have to think about short time or long time for our welfare or for other people's welfare. After considering all the things, we have to decide good and bad. Okay?
Yes. Thank you so much. That's a very, very good answer. I hope everybody benefits from that. And that also, I think that one thing come to my mind is study is painful, but it's good result at the end.
Sure.
For students. Okay, sorry.
Great, thank you, Bhante. One person asked in chat, Vivekanandi asked, if one bhikkhu writes on his profile that he finished a meditation course, but he didn't use his real name, is that parajika to tell the person he has upper dhamma?
He said.
So I'll read it again. So if one bhikkhu writes on his profile that he finished a Paok meditation course, but he didn't.
In the profile. In the profile.
In the profile, like the internet, online, yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Oh.
But he didn't use his real name. Is that parajika to tell layperson he has upper dhamma?
Yeah, this is a really very terrible. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Because it's not like this, huh? Okay. Okay. Anything?
Okay, great, thank you. Well, if no one else has any questions, I have a question for you, Bhante. And so with restraining the sense faculties, it requires a lot of self-discipline. And so I was wondering if you could talk a bit about how to use right effort for discipline.
Right? Discipline?
Right effort for discipline.
Right effort for... Okay. So when we talk about right efforts, here we should talk about mental energy. Okay? If we use our mind power properly, it's the right effort. Sometimes we just waste our energy doing many wrong things or unbeneficial things, right? Or this also wasting energy. So if we use our energy properly, we have to save energy. Now this is called we are disciplined. So that means mental discipline or saving our mental energy. This is called discipline. This is also called following precepts. Okay, there are many different ways. So when we talk about right efforts, we can say 4 things. In Pali, we call the first one pahana. Sorry, samvara. Samvara means restraint. Restraint means we must train ourselves, right? Not to do many new mistakes. Training ourselves. This is called the first one. Another one is a bahana. We may have many bad habits. So we have to try to change our bad habits. This also, we need a lot of mind power. For example, like the smoking. This is a very bad habit. But not that easy to overcome it. Although we wish to stop smoking, but we have habits. If we see somebody smoking, we would like to smoke, right? It becomes very terrible. So anyway, the main thing is, this step we have to know, if we have bad habits, we must try to overcome it, try to solve it, try to stop it. For this, we need a lot of mind power. This is also called discipline, one of the things. Another one is like development. There are many good things we know that's good, but we cannot do. We haven't done yet. For example, like everybody knows, meditation is good, but there are many people, they have never tried meditation. So try to do it. If something is good, try to do it. Then one more thing is like maintaining. When we have good habit, try to maintain that one. So in the case of sila, it will be the same. There are many, we might break many precepts. This is called bad habits. Then try to change, try to correct ourselves. We have to save our energy. Right? There are many wasting energy, also wasting money. Like in the case of smoking, we also wasting money, wasting also energy. So save energy, save money. Actually, when we are observing precepts, we also save money actually. Practically, as a bhikkhu, I don't have money. I don't save money. We can live without money, This is practical. So, okay, for many other lay devotees or lay people, for example, if they take 8 precepts, they don't need to have dinner, they can save money. This is the practical, right? So the main thing is we must know the benefits of observing precepts. We must know the value of observing precepts. We must know the value of following all the rules and regulations. Then we can also feel free and happiness. If we know value, if we know the benefits, we will respectfully do it. So, okay, briefly, right effort means we must use both mental energy and bodily energy properly, wisely for our own profit. And this is called discipline, okay? Any other thing?
Thank you, Bhante. Great question. Great answer. Thank you.
Okay.
There's a question from Jane that says, how to study Abhidhamma with a comprehensive manual of Abhidhamma and Abhidhamma ta sangaha vitara in 1 to 2 months intensively.
How to study, right?
How to study the Abhidhamma in 1 to 2 months.
More than 3 months.
1 to 2 months.
Oh, 1 to 2 months. Okay. Okay. So actually, if you don't have to memorize many things, it's okay, right? You may have many tables. You can make your own table. You can make your own manual. It will be easier for you to understand clearly. For example, like the chapter of Chitta, consciousness. Although you mention very many things in detail, if you make your own table, it can be only 1 page. You can understand all the Chitta, consciousness. Similarly, the chapter of Jaitasika. There are many relationships between Chitta and Jaitasika. You can make a table, your own table. Read thoroughly and make a table. Then you can understand a little bit deeply. Similarly, chapter 3. Actually, there are many relationships between chapter 2 and 3. And you can also learn. You can also make your own table. Actually, I myself make my own table. Then again, every single chapter, you have to make your own table, except in the last chapter, Kamatana, meditation chapter. In that chapter, you have to learn a little bit in detail because we cannot make it into a chapter. Maybe you have to know some like a temperament and meditation subjects. You can make a chart to understand clearly. For other things, we don't have shortcuts. Just trying to learn. I think 190s Vedanta Sangha, I think it will be around 2090s or something like that. It's possible. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Bhante. And then we have another question from Matt. And Matt says, how should a layperson practitioner respond when a person they are conversing with criticizes someone else or something while avoiding passing judgment on them, yourself?
So that means when we are criticized by somebody, how to practice? Right? The main point is?
Yes. So noticing that someone with us is being very judgmental, how do we prevent ourselves from being judgmental towards them?
Okay, so that means somebody just too much or someone like criticize too much, right? How to solve this problem, right? How to take with these people?
How to deal with them, yeah.
Yeah, this is the main point, right? Okay. Okay. So here, one more thing about the person, right? Actually, there are some people, they are very, very beautiful. So we can also say another way, okay, according to modern society, we should say they don't have self-awareness. If they have self-awareness, they want to criticize many other people. Everybody has weakness. This is the normal, right? No one is perfect. Okay, so we should understand this is his weakness. But one more thing, we cannot help all the people. If we can help people, okay, trying to help him. If he's not ready to accept our help, only one thing we can do. This is karma saka. It's karma. We cannot do anything. We cannot help, right? It's helpless. So for your comforts, you have to think about one thing. This is karuna, compassion toward that kind of people. So you can radiate compassion toward that kind of people. When you study meditation subjects, we may have compassion. That means may be free from suffering. Actually, he doesn't know he had to suffer from it. His suffering comes to other people, right? He had to suffer first, then he also had to make many problems with other people. Then this really beautiful living beings. So we should really karuna toward that kind of people. May be free from suffering. Close eyes. First, you have to really karuna toward yourself. May be free from suffering. Then you can also really karuna toward all the living beings. May all living beings be free from suffering. Then toward that person, may he be free from suffering. We can do only one thing for our own comforts. It's not sure he will give me free from suffering or not. If he does not change, he cannot be free. But anyway, this is the only thing we can have. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
And we have another question from Vivekanandi. This person says, if one bhikkhu teaching meditation online and also need to pay for that, but he said all of the money is for charity, he may really not use for himself. Is that breaking any sila?
Okay. So actually, Buddha didn't allow the bhikkhu to accept money in any situations or in any conditions. Okay, here I have to explain to all the listeners. Late in the future, you may see many bhikkhus, right? But I myself don't accept money in my Dhamma talk. That's why I'm free to say that kind of things. Okay, here we have to understand three different things according to Vinaya. The first one is Ukaneya. We ourselves accept. This is also called offense. The another one is we ask second people or our lay devotees or samrita to accept it, to accept for it, for us. This is also offense. Another one is if somebody offer, put it nearby. If we don't reject, that means we agree offering money. This is also offense. So three situations. There are some other situations. That means the donor will come with a kapia, that means lay attendants or lay assistants. Then he or she may say, Bande, we offer along with 6 equivalent to this amount of USD. When you need, please ask along with 6 from your kapia. Name this person, that person, something like that. If they say this kind, if they offer like this is a long way. Bhikkhu cannot accept money from the kapia. Bhikkhu can accept only the properties from the kapia. Okay, now in modern society, when some devotee come and they will have kapia, then devotee will pass to kapia, the lay assistants. Then when the donor leaves, Bhikkhu will ask, please give this money to me. You know, that kind of thing is not allowed. So that means in any situation, Bhikkhu must not touch money. It doesn't mean acceptance, not touch. If we touch, it's offense. If we accept another offense, okay, this is not allowed. Buddha totally reject it, totally disagree with this kind of things. The Buddha openly said, if money is allowable, 5 sensual pleasure is also allowable. The Buddha feel like that. That's why, actually, whatever way he used for accepting money, this is against Vinaya rules. Okay? Okay, now, next one.
Okay, thank you so much, Bante. I think we're about through with our time for today. So, Dr. Wu, would you like to begin the asking for the transfer of merit?
Yes. Can you go to the slide with the transfer of merit?
Oh, yes.
Bande, can we please ask you to lead us for the transfer of merit? And I will be the one who recite after you, and everybody else, please feel free. If you are a Buddhist, feel free to under the mute condition, but say it at wherever you are. Follow Bande to say that. Okay, thank you.
I cannot see.
Yeah, I cannot see too. Sawyer, we lost you.
One moment.
Bande, and the slide is a little bit in a sort of abbreviated form. You just, I think this is, when you see the slide, you understand.
Yeah, I understand. Sure.
Okay, good. Okay, so please lead us for the merit, the transfer of merit.
Okay. Etawata ja'amehi.
Etawata ja'amhehi.
Sambadam punya sambadam.
Sambadam punya sambadam.
Sabbe deva numodantu.
Sabbe deva anumodantu.
Sabbe buddha numodantu.
Sabbe Buddha anumodantu.
Sabbe satta numodantu.
Sabbe Sata anumodantu.
Sabba sambati siddhiya.
Sabba Sambati Siddhiya. Okay, next slide, right? Yes.
Idame.
I know. I thought this is the one that.
Okay. Imina punya kamena.
Imina punya kamena.
Mame bala samagamo.
Mame bana samagamo.
Satang samagamo hotu.
Satta samagamo hotu.
Yawa nibbana patiya.
Yawa nibbana patiya.
Idame punyam.
Idame punyam.
Asawakaya waham hotu.
Asawakaya wahang hotu.
Idame punyam.
Idame punyam.
Nibbanasa pacayo hotu.
Nibbanasa pacayo hotu.
Mama punya bagam.
Mama punyam bagam.
Sabba satanam.
Sabba satanam.
Vajemi.
Pachemi,
Te sabe
Te Sape,
me samang
Me Samang,
punya bagam
Punyam Pakam,
lavantu
Lapantu, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. Thank you, Bande. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Since I had the AV now, and so you're probably, are you going to close the session then?
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, okay. But Bande, very grateful for your excellent teaching, and we look forward to tomorrow's teaching. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Sadhu, 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 Bante. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And for anyone who has any more questions, if they think of any more questions for Bante over tonight or over tomorrow, don't hesitate to send us an email at buddhism@purdue.edu. Again, that's buddhism@purdue.edu. And any question that you have, we'll make sure to give them to Bante. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
And Sawyer, they can turn on their cam just to wave at Bande if they want to. If they're ready. So Bande knows who he's been teaching. So we can, if they would like to. Okay, that's it. Everybody's there. Very good.
I'll send the email address in the chat to everyone. And thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Sawyer. Thank you, Bande.
Thank you.